Stop trying to learn all of Photoshop. You don't need to. Photoshop has hundreds of tools, but only a handful are essential for getting started. The problem you might be running into is knowing which ones actually matter and when to use them. So today I'm breaking down the essential Photoshop tools you should know in 2026. By the end of this video, you'll know what they do, when to use them, and have a much better idea of where to start the next time you open Adobe Photoshop. Let's go. Tool number 1 is the Move tool. The shortcut key is V. And basically the Move tool allows you to click your item and move it wherever you need it on the actual document. Number 2, the Object Selection tool. And the hotkey is W. Basically, this will help you if you are doing any type of selection that you want only maybe this portion, we want just the girl. You're basically allowing the computer to select what it thinks you're trying to pick. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But this is a great way to get started if there is clean and defined edges to what you are trying to select. So as you can see, you can move your cursor around the image and things will highlight pink. If we want to select this woman right here, we can literally just click her. And do you see those little dancing lines? For me, I love to call them the dancing ants or the moving ants, or however you want to say it. Basically, this is meaning that anywhere in between those lines is basically telling you this is what is selected. And it was just as simple as that. But it doesn't always work perfectly. So imagine we just want to select the trees. If it doesn't highlight immediately, what you can do is you'll draw a box where you want to select. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Basically, it's going to do what it thinks you're trying to pick. But ultimately, it's a computer and it doesn't know exactly what you're trying to pick. So if it works, that's great. If not, sometimes you're going to have to go in there and change it a little bit, which leads into the next tool that we are going to be talking about, which is the Quick Selection tool. If you don't see it on your first time, basically what you're going to do is you're going to click on the tool. The Object Selection tool is probably the one that is there. You're going to click and hold it, and then this little side menu is going to pop up. You can click that Quick Selection tool, or you can click W. It's going to bring up this section up again. The Quick Selection tool is basically, instead of creating like a box around the object that you're trying to select, now you're given like this little pointer that you can make bigger or smaller. If you click up here, you can change the size. That all comes in handy if you're trying to pick something really big or really small. So let's say we just want this girl right here. We're going to click her. I will say this is the one that jumps around the most and doesn't always give you a clean selection, but it is a great tool because you can really zoom in. So let's say we want her. We're going to select her, but as you can see, it doesn't always do a great selection. And we click out here. So you might be wondering, how do you get rid of that? I don't want that selected. All you have to do, if you're on a Mac, click Option, and you see how that goes from a plus to a negative. Now you can tell the computer, I don't want this. And it's gonna go to basically the nearest edge or something that the computer thinks is the next part of the image that you are trying to select. Like I said, this is a very imperfect selection, but there's no perfect way because every image, every design is going to be slightly different. So there's no perfect way for each photo. But once you've learned it, you can use them together, build on each other, and you can learn maybe which one you like most or maybe will work best for the situation. So like I said, remember, hold Option, click all the areas that you don't want selected. And if you don't hold anything, you can click and it will add. The next tool is another way to do a selection. You will notice a lot of these beginning tools are how to select. Because like I said, there are a lot of ways to select a person or an object in the background. And it just doesn't always work in every situation. So you want to have a balance of which one should I use in a specific situation. The next one would be the Lasso tool. The Lasso tool looks like that. It looks like if you saw like a cowboy movie or something like that, that would show up, and that would be the L hotkey. With the other tools, a lot of it is going to be the computer trying to figure out what you want it to be, and it can be a little rough sometimes. But the nice thing about the Lasso tool is that literally whatever you draw, whatever shape you do, is what your selection is. And do you see those lines again? That's telling you that's the selection you make. So let's say we do that, and we do a Command C and a Command V, which is copying and pasting. And if we look over here, this is our layers, and we can talk about this in maybe a future video, but each of these different layers is really important to pay attention to. Each layer layer is going to stack on each other. So if let's say we have 20 different layers, whatever is on top is going to show first, next going from there, and it's just going to go down the line. It's important to pay attention to your layers, and maybe if you can't select something like with your move tool, maybe it's on a different layer. Also, if you look at these little eye buttons, it looks like an eye. We can click it and it turns that layer off. And now you can see the selection that we did make earlier. We can click it with that move tool like we were talking about earlier. This is a great way to see what you selected, but as you can see, it's also a very natural looking selection. So maybe you're doing a scrapbook or whatever it is, and you want that natural look. I really like the Lasso tool for that specific type of selection. It's less computerized, pixel based, and it's more like whatever shape you can draw is what you're gonna get. The next tool is the crop tool. I think most people know what a crop tool is. You've probably been on your phone and you've used the basic crop tool in your phone. So let's see right here. The crop tool, or the hotkey C, is basically changing the dimensions of your image. We move it in, we can change it like that, and all we do, click this little check mark up here, and it creates the dimensions that you've changed. One thing that I will say is it does delete. So let's say we want to do that. This is now gone. So if let's say we click it again, that is now gone. I don't love using crop unless I know for sure I need it, because as you can see, it erased everything after I've clicked confirm. You can't really get it back unless you've gone backwards or replaced the photo. Imagine crop as being a little bit more destructive on your image, and do it only when you need to. That is the crop tool. And if you're right here and you have the crop tool selected, you don't see the outer framing like I had earlier. All you need to do is just click the image and this shows up. This is also a great way to see the rule of thirds. If you're a photographer or designer at all, the rule of thirds is really important to pay attention to. I have a whole video about rule of thirds, so I'll just do it really quickly. These lines tell you where your eyes naturally go, and you want to add points of interest there. The next tool that we're going to talk about is the spot healing brush tool, and that is when you hit J on your keyboard if you're trying to get there quickly. I am bringing up all of these keyboard shortcuts because it is so important when you're working on something. Just having something quick and not having to look over in the toolbar, I'm telling you, it's surprising how much it helps. Here's where the spot healing brush tool comes in handy. Basically what it's going to do is you're going to select an object or a person. Let's say we want to get rid of this woman here, and we're going to paint her away. And I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. This is one of my least favorite ones, but I believe this is one of the quickest ways to see what would it look like if you got rid of the person or the item or whatever it is. Why do I not like it? It's because you are just painting it and telling the computer, please get rid of it. And that's what it's going to do. It's going to look at everything around it, and it's basically going to try to come up with what it thinks should fill that space. Sometimes it does a great job, and other times it doesn't. As you can see, that was the first time I did it. And what I like to recommend, if you're going to use the spot healing brush, I do it over and over. Sometimes it does help and sometimes it just doesn't. Let's try something else and you can see it, go away all the way. So let's say we want to get rid of maybe this tree up here. We're going to paint it. Or the time that it shines the most is when there's a simple background and it's a very simple thing to get rid of. So the next one is the clone stamp tool. The clone stamp tool looks like a little stamp, like as you might guess. And the clone stamp tool has the letter S as the keyboard shortcut. This one is great because it does get rid of objects as well, but in a different way. What it does is that it's going to use the information that you tell it to copy from, and it's going to paint it wherever you tell it to paint from. I know that's confusing, but let's talk about it. If you hold the option button, do you see this little target that pops up? This target is basically, you're going to tell it where you want to copy information from, and when you let go, you're going to paint where that little point is. It's going to follow your motion, so maybe you don't want to click something around the edge if you don't need to. So let's say we want to copy from right here. You're going to hold option and you're going to click your mouse and then you're going to let go. Do you see how it copied that information? It is not permanent until you click and you paint. That little white point is telling you where it's copying from, and wherever you paint is where it's putting it. This is great, again, if you have a very simple background or something that repeats. For something like this, where you have a lot of trees that are very unique, or like the water and the reflections, it has a hard time doing it. Ultimately, I've seen people get really good at it and really go into detail. and you can make almost anything disappear with the clone stamp tool. If we want to copy from the sky right here, and we want to get rid of that top of the tree, and there you go. It is copying from somewhere and pasting it somewhere else. Okay, the next tool is a pretty simple one. It's what we call the brush tool. It's pretty simple, probably what you think it's gonna be. You can change the size, you can change the hardness, and you can get your own brushes. You can make your own, you can download them off the internet. But I recommend, to start off, these are the two things you need to pay attention to: the hardness and the size. As you can see, the soft brush kind of looks like airbrushing or like spray paint because it has those soft edges, where a paintbrush with the hard edge is basically a literal line. So let's try a soft brush at first. And one thing to do is that if you come all the way down here, this is where you can change the color of your brushes. This right here is telling you which part of the gradients that we're looking for, and it's going to bring you to that specific section. If you know the code that you want to throw in there, you can do that as well. These are the two sections to pay attention to when picking your colors. This allows you to pick between red and black, and it tells you, like, do you want it super bright? Do you want it to be more with white? It's basically creating a gradient, and you can choose what color and like where specifically you want to grab it from. It is an amazing tool to really nail down what specific color that you want. Now we're going to just paint. Wherever you draw, you click with your mouse and you just move wherever you want. I would never recommend painting on your background. That is something that's usually locked. Let's create a new layer. To create a new layer, you click right down here. It's like a square with a plus, and it creates that new layer. Now let's paint. So as you can see, it's very foggy and kind of blurry looking because that hardness was really low. Let's see what it would look like if we had the brush really hard. As you can see, now we are using the brush with a harder edge. It is clear, it's very firm. There's not so much of foggy edges or blurry looking lines. This is great if you're trying to paint something, if you're just trying to color something. You never know what you can do in Photoshop. These are random tools you might think you don't need, but it'll come in handy in one project or another. So now we are looking at the next tool, which is the eyedropper tool, and the shortcut key is the letter I. Basically, all it is, it's allowing you to go wherever you are in a photo or a design or whatever it is, to click it, and it gives you that specific color that you are selecting. So let's say we really want that like sunset colors that she has in the water, or maybe we want that darker color in the water over there, and we want to match it with a paint design that we are adding. So let's say we really want this specific blue right there. You click and you let go. Go over back to that paintbrush, and now we are painting with that specific color. The eyedropper tool is great when you're trying to build cohesiveness or know exactly what color they used in this design when you want to use it in your design. It allows you to pick that color and use it for whatever you want later. The next one is the gradient tool, which all you have to do is click G. There's a lot to do with gradients, and if you don't know what a gradient is basically you have, it could be many different colors, but let's just talk about two. Imagine you have two different colors. You have one color from the left, one color on the right. It's basically telling you we're going to mix these two colors, and it's going to show what we call the gradients, the mixing where it blends together. So there's a lot you can do with the gradient tool in shapes, in designs. So we're going to look up here, and again, we're only going to go through basics. And if you want to know more from me, we can maybe make a future video. So there's a few gradients here. This one right here is a foreground to background, which right down here are foreground, your background color. Those are two things, if you don't know, when you're creating your designs, those are two colors to pay attention to. This one is super nice. This goes from your foreground color to a transparent. So if you want to has a gradient color on one side, and then on the other side, there's a picture behind it, that would be the way to do it. It's basically using that color to a transparent. And then the last one in the basics is black and white. Up here, there's a straight line, which is just your straight line, or you can go up here and you can do a more radial, which is this circle design where that color in the middle is your foreground and the outside is your background color. As you can see, it's more of that circle design. The next one is an angular gradient. I don't use it all the time, but it has a really cool look. You can really dive deep into how you want that to look. And then you have a reflected gradient. As you can see, it is the same thing on top and on bottom. All of this is really dependent on your creativity. If you can come up with the ways to use it, it comes in handy. And then the last one is a diamond gradient. The next one is the type tool. You're probably wondering, how do you add type? It's this tool right here, and all you have to do is hit T on the keyboard. If you click and hold, there's other ways to add text. You can add vertical type, you can have masking, but right now we're going to talk about the horizontal type tool. Basically, you can create a box. If it fits within there, it's going to create lorem ipsum, basically filler text that you're going to use, and it fits within that box. Or you can just click and it'll add like one line of text that you can type hello. And now you can change the alignment. You can do left, you can go middle, go right, you can change the color of it, and it brings you back to that color choices as well. You can also change the size of your text right here. You can go from like a specific number, or do what I love to do, which is click on the T right here and click left or right, and it will grow based on how far you drag it. This is where you would choose your font. You can download fonts. You can use just the ones in Adobe. That is totally up to you. You can scroll through them and it'll change the font that you have back there. This is where, if there is a specific addition to it, so if you have like semi-bold, bold, thin, this is where you'd find that. There's a lot of other little things that we could talk about in the future, but for right now, that is the type tool. Let us look at the vertical one real quick, just so you know what it looks like. Let's talk about the shape tools. So if you click and drag right here, you get the rectangle tool, you get the ellipse tool, triangle tool, polygon tool, star tool, line tool, and a custom shape tool. So let's say we want a rectangle, you click and you drag. And one thing that I never really learned about until just a few years is this little dot right here. If you click it and you drag in, you can round your corners. It really adds a whole nother layer to your designs if you just have rounded edges. Can't be used for everything, but it is a nice addition. Remember, if you click and you hold, let's say we want the polygon. Click and you drag. If you hold shift, it will allow for a consistent upscale or downscale depending on what you're trying to do. If you release shift, you can move the shape however you want. Let's say we want to change the color. If you go up here, the fill is the color within the shape, and then the stroke is basically the lines that will go on the outside of your shape. So let's say we want to add a red stroke. There is now a very thin line of red, but we can also make that line thicker by clicking right next to it and dragging out. You can also make that dotted, you can make that lined, or you can just make that the normal straight line. That's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you learned something from it. There are so many different tools in Photoshop, so if you would like to see a part 2 to this video, please tell me in the comment section down below and I will get working on that. Please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.